Hello, and welcome back to Rex's Wargaming. This is my April update, and this is going to be my last painting update for probably a couple months. I finished painting a section of the King's Royal Rifle Corps today for my army for the men who would be kings for the northwest frontier, and they're actually going to be used. I'm planning on using them for the Second Miranzai expedition and the Chitral campaign of 1895, along with the guides and the number 3 mountain battery of the Royal Artillery right there. So I'm going to get to the figures soon, but the first thing I would want to talk about is something I've been noticing online with regard to Confederate uniforms, and maybe I noticed it a lot more because it's a period I was interested in, and I did the period for quite a while. You can actually see this jacket right up here that I made. It's a Richmond Depot Type 2, and I'll pan up. I made that. I think it's a pretty good jacket. It's not the best, but it's accurate because a lot of the originals weren't really the best when you really start looking at them and studying them. But it's made authentically. It's a correct jacket. Anyway, with wargaming with the Confederacy, a lot of people tend to, I guess they do it wrong, or they go by some of the old, outdated plates or sketches that aren't really reflective of reality. And so there's 3 books I'd like to recommend. You really only need 2, and the third one's just kind of a bonus because I like the book and I like the author. He's a nice guy. But the first book you really have to get is Echoes of Glory, Arms and Equipment of the Confederacy. And it's a Time Life book. It's part of a three book series that is absolutely worth buying. Because first of all, they've been in production a long time. There's a lot of them. They're cheap, and it's an excellent book. The photographs are excellent. And it'll give you, the good thing about this is the photographs are good, and the jackets are, there's good provenance for them, and so it'll tell you what regiment, sometimes the depot that it came from, which is important. And using this as a resource is great, along with Fred Adolphus's blog, his uniform blog. But also a book you want to get, which kind of, you definitely need it if you want to understand the Confederate system, their uniform system, their depot system, and it's this book. It's Cadet Gray and Butternut Brown by Tom Arliskis. And it's really notes on Confederate uniforms. Now, you're not going to take this book and read it, and it's going to tell you, hey, this jacket was made here. These were worn here and here. That's not what this book's really about. It more discusses the Confederate system. It kind of breaks it down by theater and a lot of times by state. And it talks about the commutation system. It talks about the depot systems and the domestic production of uniforms and domestic production of cloth. It also discusses, how the Confederacy was, sometimes utilizing and recycling federal uniforms they captured, federal stocks, and also stuff that was brought in from overseas. So there's a great deal of cloth and ready-made uniforms were brought in from Great Britain during the war. And so if you understand how the system worked and you want to represent a Confederate army, say, perhaps in northern Arkansas or something, or not northern Arkansas, southern Arkansas, northern Louisiana, toward the end of the war. You basically, if you read this book, you'll understand how that system would have worked. You apply it to the area you're at, the time period, and then you look for, pieces of clothing with provenance to the time period, to units that were there, and that'll allow you to get a better idea rather than someone holding your hand and saying this jacket was worn here at this time by these people. You have to get an idea how the depot system worked, and once you understand that, it becomes a lot easier to make a very accurate looking army. And with Confederate uniforms, you're going to see, especially at the end of the war, a lot of stuff in this English Army cloth, which is this very dark gray, very high quality cloth. Toward the end of the war, that was a very common cloth. Confederate uniforms actually improved at the end of the war. Because they had their own domestic manufacturing had largely collapsed, and they relied on high quality imported cloth. The third book I'd like to recommend, and you don't necessarily need it, but I like it a lot, and I like the author, is Imported Confederate Uniforms of Peter Tate and Company, Limerick, Ireland. This is written by Fred Adolphus, who also runs an outstanding Confederate uniform blog. The good thing about this book is it talks about, and it talks about specifically, Peter Tate and Company and the uniforms that they sold to the Confederacy and what was imported. Uh, But it also give you a really good idea of just kind of how that was done with the English Army cloth being brought in. And this will show you a few different types of uniforms, but it also includes pictures of lining, the type of buttons they had, the collar trim, if the collar trim was original, because sometimes it may have actually been added by the soldier after he got it during the war or afterward. These guys kept their uniforms. They went to veterans events and they would sometimes dress up the uniform, adding trim to it and things like that. But this will tell you what was original and what's not. So if you want to represent troops in the Tate uniforms, like some of the guys in the Army of Northern Virginia who received quite a bit of the Tate uniforms, or Alabama that received kits, from Peter Tate, it'll give you a good idea how to do that. And these aren't the only books. There's a great series, 5-book series by Burt and Barry on stuff that was just imported, mostly from Great Britain. It covers everything from buttons to bullets and everything in between, uniforms, stuff like that. And so that's a good series too. But I wanted to mention that because I see a lot of people doing Confederate uniforms and they kind of don't do them right, really. I hate to say it, and I think it's just because they don't have the best resources to do it. The books aren't expensive. The Cadet Gray and Butternut Brown is kind of vital. If you have that book, you honestly don't even need the other books. You have to understand the system, and once you understand the system by which uniforms are issued, as long as you can find good documented photographs and surviving originals and collections, and if you can put them to a time period and unit, you'll have an excellent idea of what the troops would have worn. And so I want to zoom in and talk about I hate how it does that. It zooms in and it goes all yellow, and I really can't change it. I want to talk about my section I just finished, which are the King's Royal Rifle Corps. I want to use this cap because that looks better than my hand. It's got a lot better look. There we are. So these are studio miniatures, and I just finished a section today, kind of brushed through it, and this is my King's Royal Rifle Corps. I'm very happy with these miniatures. They painted up easy. They took the express paints easy. They're pretty well defined. I like them a lot. And so I finished this section as their rifles. Their equipment is going to be in black, and as are the haversacks. I had to do a few coats of Black Lotus on the metal because I wanted the metallic to shine through, almost as if the metal's blued, which it would have been on the Medfords. I may have to do another coat to get it dark enough, but I may just leave it as it is. I didn't want it to be shiny metal because the guns would have been new, and the British kept their guns in good repair. If guns wore out, they would refurbish them, repair them. So yeah, I don't think you ever saw a gun with shiny metal like that at that point in British service. They were kind of very happy with the blued stuff. And so we spring up a few other guys on the cap top. I want to keep them in order because I don't know, I like the way they're laid out, like the spread of the guys. It's just the way I want to keep them in this exact order. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but it is what it is. And so I remember where they came from. And move these back up. I think I went a little cavalier with the tufts. I kind of went a little crazy with these guys. There's tufts for everybody, pretty much. I should move these guys a little bit in the middle and closer together. There you go. Yeah, so I'm really happy with the studio miniatures. They actually work really well. And they kind of bridge, they do a good bridge between the artisan miniatures and the Wargames Foundry. Oh, I could have just set it down right there. Look how stupid I am holding it up. Because I don't got a good wrist. You can see I got that scar right here. I had surgery on my wrist, and I have a weak wrist. I got a bad wrist. And I'm left-handed, so I have to paint with that, so my hands get all tired. But yeah, these are the studio miniatures. They're very well proportioned. They're how I like. I like figures to be a little bit chunky. Not too chunky, just a little bit. Nah, that's not gonna work. So yeah, I'm very happy with these miniatures. They blend in very well with the artisan because they're not big. They're a little bit bigger, I would say, than the Wargames Foundry over here, who are the artillery crew. These guys are a little bit bigger than them. They're slightly smaller than the artisan right behind them, the other artillery crew right back here. but the helmets are a lot closer in size to the Wargames Foundry. The artisan miniatures, not all of them, but a lot of them, they have these big helmets. I don't know why their sun helmets are so large, but these guys they're studio miniatures. Studio Miniatures, I believe, is no longer, it's a defunct company, but I think Reaper, I want to say it's Reaper, picked up the line for Northwest Frontier. They're fantastic figures. The only problem maybe is if you are in the United States, they're not going to be easy to get. You're going to have to bring them in. The shipping is expensive. But if you're in Britain, absolutely, I would recommend these guys. They're fantastic. I would take these any day of the week over the Wargames Foundry British who are armed with bolt action rifles. Absolutely, they're fantastic figures. So, I mean, that's exactly what I would do. Oh, this guy I was pretty happy too. I was able to squeeze a little piece of grass in between the rocks, and so I don't know if that's not the coolest thing, but I wanted to do it, and so now he's got, looks like the rocks are. I don't know, it's not that cool, but I like the busy base. The reason I use so many stones on these riflemen is because I ran out of road dirt. That's the reason I didn't decide to change my basing style. It was, I only had so much. I scrape up the dirt off the road in front of my house because I don't buy sand. And so if it rains or it's damp and the road dirt doesn't want to come up, or it's stuck together, I don't want to wait for it to dry. So I'll use what I have, and I'll put little stones in there so I can save on the road dirt and maybe get the most out of it. And so that's why half of these guys have quite large stones. I didn't have some kind of stylistic change. I just ran into dirt. What's like a road sand? It's like a city road sand, like you'd imagine. You see on the side of the road. And so I'm very happy with these studio miniatures. These are old studio ones, but they are the same. The company that picked them up is doing the exact same thing. Nothing to change. Let's zoom out. There we go. See, I hate how it does that, where it looks. This looks fantastic. It's so bright when I zoom in. It's got this kind of yellow haze. I hate that. That looks ridiculous. But maybe one, I don't think it'll. We'll deal with that. But yes, so upcoming videos I'm gonna have. I'm gonna continue my Argentine series, and I'm gonna do kind of a dual video. I'm gonna do one that covers this next video. I hope to do is gonna cover the Mapuche, who are one of the tribes that the Argentines fought during the conquest of the desert. There's not really a lot there as far as clothing and equipment. They were pretty basic, and so that video is going to be kind of a dual video. It's going to also include kind of the nature of the warfare during the conquest of the desert and the Argentine forts, and kind of how the Argentines would track down Mapuche war parties and stuff like that, and how infantry were used, and how some of the guns were used. And so that's there's just not enough material there to cover the tribe. It'd be a short video. Uh, Video after that I'd like to make is going to cover the Mexican army, roughly from 1866 up to around 1890. Yeah, up to around 1890. The uniforms didn't change that much, and so that's great. And the Mexicans are interesting if you're playing kind of Old West. And I know I was talking to someone the other day in a live chat on Napoleonic Wargaming's channel, and I'd like to thank him quick because he got me like 7 subscribers. He's a really great guy. But there's one guy in the stream who's going to do American Indian Wars, and so yeah, it's got me thinking. It's not something I'd want to do. It's a period I know a lot about. I spent a lot of time doing living history, reenacting, whatever you want to call it. I mean, the higher end tends to be called living history, in which I was on the higher end of the hobby, but it seems so pretentious to call it that. But anyways, I know a lot about the Indian Wars. I have a lot of original equipment. It was a period I spent years studying, and I think I'm just burned out on it. I could talk about it all day. I could help people who want to do that, but personally, I don't know. I enjoyed it. It's a great period, but I don't know that I'd want to war game it. It's like Civil War. I love the period. I know a lot about it. I burned myself out. I can't war game it. But anyway, why did I say that? Because it got me thinking about the Mexicans during the same period, and they're an interesting army. They'd be an interesting army to war game, just from an the opponents you would have standpoint, because the Mexicans were dealing with a lot of stuff. That country is always it's been a chaotic country. Let's just say that. And so from 1866 to 1890, at any given point, the Mexican army would have been fighting, Indians. They would have been fighting revolutionaries like peons or campesinos that were very unhappy. They'd have been fighting bandits, banditos. at any given point, a combination of, some of the revolutionaries may be banditos, some of the Indians may be revolutionaries, that kind of idea. So it's a very hostile country. The Mexican army had a lot of people to fight, and so for wargaming, it'd be an incredibly interesting setting. You could have some pretty cool banditos. You could have some peons with machetes. You could have some Yaqui, some Apache. Very very interesting setting to do. I should do more stuff, kind of moving things around in front. Maybe this is a Houston Depot cap. If anyone's wondering what it is, uh, which would have been made at the Houston Depot by the Confederacy out of English Army cloth. And I'm not sure. It probably did import the blue cloth from England, but it's a good example of some of the Confederate uniforms that were trimmed. They weren't always trimmed, but sometimes. And the Houston Depot did have trimmed uniforms. But where the hell was I at with the Mexicans? Yeah, it's a good way to do it. The Mexicans are kind of neat. And War Games Foundry makes an outstanding line of Mexicans for the Old West. Now, I bought a bunch. I'm happy with them. When will I ever get to painting them? I don't know. I mean, I'll probably die, and someone can paint them then when they take them out of my estate. But yes, that's my update. There's not going to be any more painting videos for maybe 2 months. Unfortunately, I didn't quite get as much as I wanted to get done, but I am happy. This is my output from like August 27th of last year. It may not be impressive, it's 94 guys, 4 guns. I'm happy. It's more than most people do, I think. Uh, Maybe not more than pretty hardcore guys, but your average clown probably has most of this stuff in primer. So I feel good. This is a very strong force for the men who would be kings. I mean, you'd be playing a pretty big game with this many models. So this is my video. It ran incredibly long. Good God. But thank you for watching, and goodbye.